back, everybody, to this edition of Inside the Ropes. I'm your host, Dan of Jab Journals. I'm sitting here with Garrett Sunshine Ross. Garrett's fighting in April 12th in Cleveland for the Ohio State title. So, Garrett, coming off your last victory in November, you're coming off a pretty significant injury, so this is your first fight in a while. Kind of explain how that fight went and how you felt after the layoff.
The fight went good. It was a little bit challenging because the opponent came in way heavier than what we expected. I think I ended up giving up like 20 pounds on fight day.
Oh, wow.
But
like after rehydration and all that
yeah,
stuff.
I know I was fight day. I was 165, and I know he weighed in at 166.
Okay. Yeah.
So I never even hit what he weighed in at. But I felt good in the fight. The injury of the hand didn't bother me at all. I was able to land it multiple times with success, and then just kind of use the technique. A little bit of rust to shake off, but that's to be expected. Never really had like a long layoff before, so it feels good being able to get back into the ring quicker this time.
Now, how long was the layoff? If I remember, Bobby said it was over a year, wasn't it?
I think it was almost. It would have been 2 years because it was July. No, over 2 years. September of 22 was the last fight that I lost because of the injury, and then November 16th, 24 was the return.
Yeah. So, like, how'd you feel like when you're making your ring walk, getting in the ring for the first time after a couple of years? Like, did it feel like you were back home, or how did you feel?
It felt good. There was some nerves. It felt more like my pro debut than like the fight before the injury, just because it had been a little bit, and there was that little voice in the back of the head that was like, kind of like, it's been a while.
Right.
Is this what it's supposed to feel like? Is this what it felt like last time? So, but it felt good. Felt good. I was excited to get in there.
So, kind of take us through the injury a little bit. You said you injured a couple years before in a fight. How did that kind of come about?
Yeah, so in the fight, it was like 3 fights ago now. July 22, first round. We were coming to like the last 30 seconds or so. Heard Bobby, call for a combo. Threw it as fast as I could, and the second my right hand hit, I remember just feeling like a burning.
Mm-hmm.
And the left hand missed because he went down. Second right hand missed because he was on the ground. Went back to the corner. They called it a slip. And then I didn't tell him in the fight, I just kind of was like, that didn't feel right.
Yeah.
And then we got to the back room after, and I was like, this is bad. My hands swelled up. The next day, I thought it was broken for sure. Thought broken something. So we went to the ER, and I walked in, the ladies were like, what are you here for? I'm like, I box. I punched somebody, my hand's really swollen. And they literally laughed, and they're like, that is broken.
Yeah.
X-ray, no break. That's weird. So
usually good news.
Yeah, usually good news. So that's what we thought. Had my chiropractor and different people who do different types of massage therapy and stuff like that look at it and play around with it, and re-X-rayed it a second time, no break. So we thought it was a bone bruise. Hop in the next training camp when it's feeling better. Started bugging me towards the end of camp, and we just figured it was a deep bruise. Get through this one fight and then take 6 months off instead of 2 months.
Yeah. And
then that fight did not go the way we wanted it to because it was just too much to deal with. Then I went and I got MRI'd and, sat down with the doctor, and he pulled up, the sheet. He's like, this is your MRI. And he's like, see this big white donut? I'm like, yeah. He's like, well, white means damage. So we all kind of started laughing. And then we started talking about, the fix and if I'd be able to box again if I did it. And he said, definitely you'd be able to do it. I'll, put the scar on the side instead of where it normally goes. And then just went through the recovery process. That was probably the worst.
Yeah.
I'm a training addict. Bobby will tell you, if I'm not in the gym 2-3 times a day, he's calling me hey, what's wrong? Are you feeling okay? So, be in a cast for 4 to 6 weeks, and then be in a splint for 2 months, not be able to use the hand, not be able to train. All I could do is run. So it's every day I was running, putting the miles in, and then when I got the okay to train, just hopped right back into it.
Yeah. Now, you mentioned not being in the gym a couple times a day. I don't know if I mentioned the intro, but you're part owner of New Way. So you train classes not only just for boxing, but you also do jiu-jitsu. Mm-hmm. So since recovering from the injury, how has it been kind of getting back in the groove of training?
Been way better. I mean, I love training, and then just being able to coach and not need that assistance. Like, hey, can you hold mitts for so and so for me at 4, and can you do this for me at 6? Being able to just, okay, I'm gonna train George at 4, Sonny at 5, and then I gotta train myself at 6. Like, just being able to run like back through like what's a normal day for me is amazing.
Right. Like, do you kind of try to keep yourself busy with classes and kind of stay in the gym as much as you possibly can?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if I necessarily have to try,
Right.
but it does keep me busy. Like, the hardest time is like trying to find time to just like research sometimes.
Yeah.
Like, okay, study. I have a left-hander that I train. And he was struggling for a little bit because he likes the Philly shell, and we weren't able to get him to work it right. So I had to find time. Okay, I need this hour block, and I'm gonna study like Shakur Stevenson, Raymond Ford, a couple other southpaws who like the Philly shell. What do they do that's different? All right, now how can we make Jake do that?
Right.
So like that's challenging sometimes, but being in the gym, and it's not like a hard day for me if I'm in the gym for 8 hours. Like, it's just normal.
Right. Now, being co-owner of the gym, like, how did that kind of come about? Like, did you start training under Bobby as an amateur and then kind of grew from there? Or how did that work?
Yep. So my whole life, I wanted to learn how to fight. Like, as a kid, I thought like Kung Fu or something, because I grew up watching like Dragon Ball Z and Bruce Lee and Chuck Norris and that kind of stuff.
Right.
Because that's all that was on the TV. And my mom's just super hippie, super good person. And she was like, there's no violence in this house. Like, when you're 18. So I turned 18, and I was like, all right, I can do it now. So I just started calling, the gyms closest to the house, and New Way was the first place that picked up the phone. Bobby actually answered it. I was like, yeah, first day's free, coming in tomorrow, da-da-da-da-da. Started training, loved it, and then just, eventually ramped up in sparring, and then competing, and then going up the amateur circuit, and then the pro circuit.
So, you mentioned your mother wasn't, too approving of this. Does she approve of your job now, or how does she feel about it now?
She supports it.
Mm-hmm.
I think a small part of her still wishes that picked using my brain for
Right.
something like safer, as she'll call it. And she still to this day says she can't watch it.
Mm-hmm.
She gets mad and wants to hurt the other guy, but she's a huge supporter. She's always telling me good luck and asking like how is it going and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So she definitely supports it now. I think it took a couple of years to convince her.
Gotcha. Well, obviously you made a career out of it. Like, you made your whole life about it. So obviously you're passionate about it, and she must see that. Going into this fight now, you're fighting in Cleveland for the Ohio State title against a native from down there, Hamza Alvarado. How do you feel going into this fight? And have you done a lot of research on the opponent?
Yeah, I feel great. There wasn't a two lot to find. I found like one full fight on YouTube, and then like some clips on his Instagram. But I was talking to Aaron Carter from Jabs ALCC. He's the last person that fought Hamza as an amateur. And doing the research I can, and then I've been sparring some slick southpaws. So I don't really think there's anything he can throw at me that I won't be prepared for.
Right. Now, how did you kind of come up, like, because this is, you're going to be on the B side. This is his hometown. Do you feel any extra pressure going there and challenging for a belt, being from out of state?
No. I love being underestimated, so I know that they called me because on paper they think I'm an easy fight, and I love to prove people wrong. So, the plan is to just go down there and show them what's up. His promoter or his manager, told my manager that like it should be a good fight between two guys that are evenly skilled, and that was a little insulting to me.
Right.
So I'm ready to show them wrong.
Yeah, what did you take personal about that? Like, how did you feel underestimated?
Yeah, I mean, I love being underestimated, and I think the big reason why they are is there's really no footage of me.
Yeah.
Like, I think I've got like one 20 or 30 second clip on my Instagram, and then like some still photos, but there's not a lot out there. So I think they looked on paper, they see a loss against someone who I shouldn't have lost to because of my hand injury, but they don't know that.
Right.
So I think they think that I'm not as talented as I am, and then when I did go and I watched this guy's boxing, I was happy with it. We were planning on a different route for this next fight. I am gonna go down a weight class. 147 is the goal, so we were gonna look for like a catch weight at 150, test it out, and then go 47. And then Hamza's manager hit me up and was like, "Yo," and it just happened to be a good fight.
So they came for you. They were looking for you, basically.
Yeah. They actually messaged me, and it was on Facebook Messenger, and
Okay.
my phone doesn't give me updates on that
Yeah.
all the time. So I was like 3 days late by replying, and they had actually booked my last opponent when
Oh.
I didn't respond within the 3 days.
Gotcha.
And then I responded, and they went with me.
Okay.
So I think they think that I'll just like look better than him, but still lose. But they're about to find out.
Now, going down there, being on the B side, being for a title, is there any extra pressure with that?
Not really. I fought in Ohio once as a B-side already, against Letice Norman, back in like 2020. And I actually, again, dumb enough for me, but on an injury. So I wasn't able to like fire as much as I did, but I still thought I did enough to win the fight. And then I actually found out recently that apparently Hamza's turned down Letice like 3 times
Okay.
as a pro. So that just kind of makes me feel even more confident about it.
Yeah, give you a little extra boost.
Yeah.
Before we sign off, your last question I got for you is that, when I was interviewing Bobby, he pretty much said that, Sunshine's here every day. He does a little bit of everything from teaching jiu-jitsu to teaching boxing classes. But boxing's like your main passion. What is it about boxing that makes it your biggest or your most liked combat sport?
It's hard for me to say. It was just like, it was something that I did, and then like I just knew like I like this. Like, I always wanted to like throw kicks and like stuff like that from being a kid and watching all the flashy kicks and stuff. It looks cool. But then like when I actually got in the ring and threw some punches, my legs are not flexible, so kicks are not good for me. But like once I learned how to like confidently slip, and then started studying some boxers and then implementing that type of stuff, like I just started to fall in love with like the process more than the result, and that's what kept me coming back.
Okay, awesome. Well, that fight's gonna happen April 12th in Cleveland. We'll definitely make sure we give you guys the updates on Sunshine's fight. Sunshine, good luck, and thanks for spending time with me today. We'll see you guys in the next one.